What is up, guys? It is your boy N607 here, and welcome to another review video. Today, I'm going to be reviewing Shin Megami Tensei 5 for the Nintendo Switch. Now, I talked about the previous SMT game that came out, that being the Nocturne remaster, and it was definitely one of my most negative reviews I've made. I really wasn't a fan of that game. Simply put, I really disliked the dungeon design. I didn't really care for the graphics. Music is okay, but forgettable for me at least, which is kind of weird. But did SMT5 fix a lot of these problems, or did it not? Because honestly, that was the big thing I was thinking. Considering Atlas spent like at least the past 5 years working on this game, so it must be much better than the Nocturne Remaster, which that was more likely only made in like a year or two. Right? Well, let's find out. Starting off with, of course, the presentation. If you've seen my videos, presentation is a big thing, and SMT5 is a little bit different. It's like the other SMT games where you run around, you fight demons, but you also recruit demons, you interact with them in a specific way, act certain ways around them. They'll join your party and you can use their powers, and it's really cool. And the big thing that this game really adds compared to the other games, I think, I haven't played the other ones, aside from the Nocturne Remaster, is the open world, as you have a big open world that you can explore, which I believe is a first in the series, though I could be wrong on this. If any Megami Tensei enthusiasts want to let me know if that's true or not, go ahead. I've not played much of the series. And it is definitely pretty cool, because I do like how games are kind of starting to go open world now. Although I do think too many games are going for it, it's still really cool, and it's really cool to have this big world to explore with lots of secrets you can find around it. But I'll get more into that a little bit later. Now, while that might be great, the performance for this game and the graphics for this game, it's not good. The performance for this game is about what I expected. It's not gonna run that amazingly. It's definitely better docked than it is in handheld mode. Handheld mode is kind of just but honestly, I don't really think that's much of the problem. And this is where we get into the first problem with the open world. This game has very little visual variety. And that's, I think, one of the biggest issues. Because, yeah, you have this big open world, but this big open world is basically nothing but a desert for most of the game. Like, seriously, what you see on screen, yeah, this is basically 80% of the game at the very least. Like, Jesus Christ, there is very few visual variety with the world. It's just a big desert and that's it. And honestly, deserts aren't even that good looking anyways. And I know it's going to be a sin for me to say this, but look at Persona 5. With Persona 5, it has so much more visual variety because it has different locations you go to that have different styles and different, colors. Whereas this game just sticks with orange throughout most of the game, and it's just really dull looking, in my opinion. It just doesn't look good at all. I don't know. I feel like it could have been better if they added more locations. And granted, there are some. Like, there's one time when you go to school when it has a bunch of demons infesting it. It's actually quite cool. I like it. But unfortunately, it's very few and far between, as most of the game takes place in this world, the netherworld, as they say. It's just not, it could have been so much better. But now moving on to the story, I'm not going to go on the story too much. Basically, you get sucked into a world that's full of demons. You eventually fuse with someone else and become a Nahobino, and then you get demons recruited to your side, and you kind of try to figure out what the hell is going on. Things start happening in your real world and whatnot. I'm not going to go into it too much. But overall, the story for the game is definitely better than the Nocturne Remaster. Probably just because I feel like I had a little bit more connection to these guys. I don't know, the Nocturne Remaster, there wasn't really a lot to the story and characters that I could feel. All the stuff there just kind of felt like it just happened. Whereas SMT5, well, yeah, it's not a great story per se. It does feel like there's a lot more going on. At least it feels like there's more story going on. But, yeah, story-wise, it's alright. And now on to the gameplay. Now, I mentioned before that this game is open world, which is mostly true. You have a huge world that you can explore, and you can find plenty of secrets hidden around the world. And, of course, the battle with the demons and collecting the demons and whatnot. It's pretty typical stuff. And overall, when it comes to the battling, it's quite good. It's not really that different from the other stuff, but you get this new button that you can press, which basically like makes it more likely that your party will do critical damage, which is pretty cool and a little overpowered sometimes, but it's still fun to use every now and then. But the battles are pretty good, and as for the open world, it's okay. Honestly, the gameplay is actually not too bad. It's if it's anything, it's much better than the Nox remaster, but that's not really a compliment, is it? The main problem I have with the open world design is the fact that, like I mentioned before, the world just looks so dull. It's just a desert full of destroyed buildings everywhere. It's basically just Tokyo, but destroyed in the desert. That's literally the world. And there's really little to it. Like, yeah, you can find these secrets in the world, but they're not really that interesting because the world is just so bland looking that it doesn't really incite you to get other collectibles. It's just really bleh. Because if the world had more visual variety, or if there was more, I don't know, lore to the world, maybe it'd be a little more interesting to look into like secrets and whatnot and kind of really appreciate the world for what it is. But there isn't really a way to appreciate the world. It's just very bland looking, and it's just, I don't know, it makes the open world aspect in the gameplay a little bit more tedious than it could be, because this is what you look at for most of the game. So it just kind of feels like if you play like a couple hours of the game, you pretty much played the whole game. That's the main issue. Now, overall, I don't think the gameplay is bad. I think the gameplay is much better than, well, what we saw before. But even so, I still feel like the fact that the world is so bland does hurt the gameplay quite a bit, in my opinion, because it just makes it feel like you've played the whole game if you've played even just a little bit of it. And that's kind of an issue. But gameplay is alright. And then controls are kind of just the same. It's what you'd expect. And then content-wise. Now, this game was $60, but you could get the game for much cheaper with various deals that have happened for the game. Overall, I'd say the game is definitely worth $60, though I would definitely get it for a smaller price. You definitely get quite a lot of content with the game. You at least get like a 20-hour RPG, which, yeah, that kind of justifies $60, but even so, I don't know. If you're new getting into the series, like I kind of did, I definitely wouldn't pay $60. You can get the game for like $40 with some sales. Definitely go for it at that price. And the music for the game is pretty good. I especially love the battle theme. Battle theme is so goddamn catchy. You can hear in the background of the video. It's so goddamn catchy. I love it so much. And the music in this game is actually quite alright. It's not memorable, but it's definitely pretty good, I think. At least the battle theme is good, and you hear that a lot. But now, getting into my final thoughts on this game, and overall, SMT5 was better than the Nocturne Remaster, but I still think the game has a lot of issues. I think, honestly, the main issue that this game has that kind of hurts a lot of aspects of it is just the open world. I feel like the open world is just so bland and boring that it just kind of makes me really not feel like playing the game, because it's like, oh, I played like 2 hours of the game. I basically played the whole game, considering that this is what the world is for most of the game, aside from a couple other areas. I don't know. I feel like the game needed a lot more visual variety, because the game is just so boring to look at. Ignoring the performance, the game just has the same style and area like all the time. It's not even beautiful either. It's a desert. Deserts aren't beautiful. It's just destroyed buildings everywhere. There's not enough to the world to really make me feel like, oh, I want to go and explore this world. Look at games like Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild has so many unique locations. It has all these grass areas, but it also has a desert area, it has a snowy area, it has a volcano area, and it has a more tropical-like area. It has actual visual variety within the world. It's interesting to explore the world. You want to explore it and find secrets. GTA 5, it's such a colorful game. You want to explore every single acre of the world. It's so unique, and it got like the city area. You've got the more out of nowhere area up north. Like, the worlds have much more visual flair to go off of, whereas SMT5 is just the same thing over and over for the entire map. And I feel like that just makes the game feel a lot more boring in my opinion. And everything else, while good, it's kind of just alright in my opinion. So, yeah. Overall, on my scale of 0 to 10, I'm giving SMT5 a 6.5 out of 10. I think the game is good, but I don't think the game's really good enough for me to really say, oh, I'm gonna finish the game. So honestly, I did not finish the game. Couldn't be bothered to. I eventually just felt like the game was just repeating itself over and over. But I am going to take this as a sign that maybe mainline SMT isn't for me. And that's fine. That's fine if it is. But even so, SMT5 is pretty okay. It's definitely not a bad game. Far from it. But it needed more, in my opinion. It needed more uniqueness with its visuals. Because honestly, like, when you look at the same thing all the time, you just get bored of it. It's just, I don't know. That's how I feel at the very least. I feel like the graphics for the game are probably the biggest thing that kind of turned me off. It's not even me being a graphics whore or anything. It's just the fact that they need to absolutely fix, like, I don't know. Whenever they make SMT6, they need to make sure that they have more area locations. But those are my thoughts on it. I've been rambling on long enough about the visuals in this game. Let me know what you guys think of the game in the comments below and how much you might dislike this review. And don't take this as me just hating on the game, because I know lately people have been starting to hate on the game more so. I'm not necessarily hating on the game. I'm complaining about the game, certainly, but do keep in mind I'm not necessarily trying to hate. But if you guys enjoyed this video, you probably didn't, but still hit the like button and subscribe regardless, though. I'd appreciate it. It'd make my day. And let me know what you guys think of the game, because I would definitely like to see what other people think of the game. And with that being said, this is N607 signing out. Peace out and have a good day. I'm never playing SMT again. Although I will play Persona. But no other SMT stuff besides Persona anymore.